Joy seekers, joy givers, anyone looking for the infusion of joy, you are at the right place. My name is Deb McGregor. Welcome to our special Fall Infusion of Joy series. I can't think of a sweeter way to roll into our fall series than our first guest, Sara Lien of Paisley and Dash. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure and a joy to be here.
I know. Joy and cupcakes. How does it get any better than this, right?
No, right? They pair very well.
Oh my goodness. So Sara, we should let people know you and I actually met through a mutual friend, Sandra Luck, Bully Brew Coffee, the owner and founder. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have to interview you. Like, I was like so on this, right? And we've been trying to get this together for a while now, I think.
Yeah, I would say like about a year roughly.
Yeah. And here you are. And so, oh my gosh. So people might be wondering, okay, what does she mean about this sweeter thing? You specialize in cupcakes, but not just any cupcakes. And you even went from being a financial planner into cupcakes. So money, food, they go together, right?
Obviously.
So talk to us a little bit about this journey.
Oh boy. Well, like you said, I formerly was a financial advisor for about 15 years right out of college. And I loved that. It was a wonderful occupation that I was very lucky to be in. But it never quite fulfilled the creative spark that I always kind of craved. I tried very hard, and there are some things you can do to make it a creative occupation, but there was always kind of that itch in the back of my mind that I thought, okay, this is, is there something else? And in fact, at one point I took, one of those professional quizzes that you take that kind of gives like an aptitude or what your skills are, what you like. And at the top of mine was what drives me is something that's aesthetically and beautiful and aesthetically pleasing. And as a financial advisor, obviously that probably shouldn't be at the top of what your wants is. So I was like, okay. So I kind of knew at that point. And like I said, that was a wonderful career and I loved all of my clients. And it was a very hard choice to leave. It was one of the hardest choices in my life. But when I resigned, I just kind of, Cupcakes kind of came through that in a career kind of as well and kind of grew from there. So, yeah.
So we need to let people know that we're not just talking about any kind of cupcake. We're not talking about the cupcake that you walk in and they have the entire thing filled with cupcakes, right? Talk to us about your cupcakes and what makes them so unique.
Well, I'll kind of give you a little visual here for the people that like to see. So they are cupcakes in a mason jar. So basically we take 2 layers of cupcakes and 2 layers of buttercream and just layer them and nestle them sweetly inside. And they're ready to eat, so you don't have to bake them at all. They're just ready to like dig right in. Spoons are always included. And we ship those all across the US. So it's definitely a spin-off of like a regular cupcake. It's more of a mobile cupcake, I guess I would say.
Yeah, well, and I have actually sent these to people as thank you gifts for things. Yeah. And it's not just even the cupcake. You have amazing packaging so that even the experience of opening up the package is a gift in and of itself. And when you mentioned the aesthetically pleasing, well, of course you'd have amazing packaging, right?
Right, that's part of it. I feel like that's a big thing, like, with presentation, and a cupcake is a cupcake, but when it's presented beautifully, right, and it creates an experience for the recipient, that's how you kind of stand out. And that was a big part of, when I was creating Paisley and Dash. It was very important to me to make sure that it was beautiful and that when someone received it, it created that wow experience and that, make them feel special, right? And to that point, I often still get like emails, texts, calls from people, complete strangers, right, all over the country that are like, oh my gosh, this is so, beautiful. And I felt so special. And, when I opened it, it was a surprise. I had no idea. And it's become a rewarding type of career as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, and of course, there's this question to me about how do you keep the cupcake fresh in the shipping? Because you're shipping all over the United States.
Yeah.
And I got curious about that because I've shipped things to California before. And I'm thinking, okay, that takes more than a day. How do you keep it fresh?
Okay, great question. With shipping, we basically ship it immediately, right? So we make it that day or take it that day and we ship it throughout the US with 2-day shipping. So if it leaves our warehouse here on a Monday, it'll arrive anywhere in the US within 2 days. And then we always say it's good for at least a week or frozen for another couple months, actually. But what keeps it fresh is another thing about not the traditional cupcake. Because it is in a jar and sealed, it kind of holds in that freshness for quite a bit longer to extend the life of the actual cupcake.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's almost like when you make your salad in a jar or something, you can keep it and it keeps that freshness in it. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
You can expand a salad in a jar too. Okay, no, that's too many ideas, too many ideas. So I know as I'm talking about, I've sent these as thank yous to people and I've tended to buy them for, smaller groups. Is this something that sometimes people just get one of, or is it groups, corporate? Like, who are the people that are receiving these cupcakes?
Yeah, I would say like on the broad point, I mean, anybody with a sweet tooth. So it's definitely like a one person would order them. But a lot of our work is with like larger corporate, but they can be smaller too, but corporate orders. Because one thing that we do also that kind of makes it a different cupcake is we can customize the top of the lid. So whatever the company name may be, whatever branding we kind of want to do with your company, we can include that in our packaging, whether it's on the lid of the cupcake or somewhere, or lid of the jar, or somewhere in the packaging. We can change the color of the tissue paper. We can make it very custom to whatever company that we're working with. And that serves our clients very well in terms of whether they're gifting cupcakes as a thank you gift to their clients, or as a happy birthday, or a happy holidays, or whatever the holiday or occasion might be. It definitely fits in that demographic of our audience with small, large, and medium companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we keep talking cupcakes. Is this something where there's just one flavoring? There's multiple flavorings? Can we create a flavor? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we started out very simple, and that would be something I would advice that I would give anybody in all things, to keep it simple, right? To not overthink it. So for the first year and a half, almost 2 years, we basically had 3 flavors, and I just kept it very generic. So red velvet and vanilla and chocolate, and all 3 of those are paired with my signature almond buttercream frosting.
Yummy.
Yeah, and
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
What was that?
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Try being around it every single day, right?
I know. So, okay, so red velvet, chocolate, and vanilla. Now, which of those is your top seller?
I would say vanilla. That's kind of like a universally loved flavor. But I would say the red velvet too, because it's a different red velvet, because typically red velvet is paired with like a cream cheese.
Mm-hmm.
However, given the fact that we ship to all 50 states and across all 4 seasons, right? So temperatures and whatever. So I don't typically like to have like a cheesy type product or something sitting on front step for a day or two. So it's paired with that almond buttercream. So it's kind of a red velvet with a twist, but people love it. So
yeah. Now, you mentioned warehouse. Now, I'm visualizing that when you first started this, was this something that you started out of the kitchen and then it just grew? I mean, I'm really wrapping my head around this.
Me too. Still, it's crazy. I started out of my basement. My home kitchen and my basement is kind of how I started this little baby. And once my home oven, could pop, I was, popped out about 3,000 cupcakes. And I was like, I've got to find a better way to do this in a faster way. So at that point, I started renting a commercial, like a shared kitchen space. It's called like an incubator kitchen, which is very helpful for somebody like me that I was tiptoeing into it, still working full time. I didn't have to take on the cost of a monthly rent or a mortgage on, a building or something. So it was a nice way to tiptoe for a food business into it. So I started baking out of there, renting it by the hour. And then I turned my entire basement of my house into like Paisley and Dash headquarters. Boxes, tissue paper, bubble wrap, crinkle paper, more boxes, ribbon. It was like my whole basement. And so, Paisley and Dash Central was in my home for quite a while. And, I stored jars, my mason jars off site. So that, progressed from having that rental space to my basement, having jars stored off site, to most recently has evolved into building my own little cupcake factory.
Oh my gosh. Now, does it look like a cupcake?
Well, kind of. I guess it looks like a cupcake factory.
Well, I was visualizing like the Longaberger basket used to have their office actually looked like the Longaberger basket.
Oh,
And I'm like visualizing this cupcake that you walk into to go visit.
cute. No, it looks actually like my packaging and branding. So I don't have a sign on it because it is still new and people would come in, and I always say look for the black and white awnings.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't see right here, but a lot of the walls are black and white stripes, black and white polka dots, black and white floor. It's very Paisley and Dashy when people walk in.
Yeah. Well, it is. And it goes back to this aesthetically pleasing. Like this is a piece of who you are. And you have literally threaded that throughout the entire business and everything that you're doing. You know, as you're talking about like the corporate things and personalizing, I'm thinking of like wedding events and venues where the couple has, right? Like how cool would that be?
Yes, weddings have recently become like an awesome demographic for us just because, you know, whether it's a COVID world that we're in or, you know, like a mobile world, it's very, it satisfies a lot of the check marks when you're planning a wedding in terms of, you know, multiple flavors you can use. You can customize the tops. You can, you know, the guests can put it in their purse and take it home and have for, you know, a bedtime treat. It works as a dessert and a party favor. It's still pretty, right? Because obviously I'm going to make it as aesthetically pleasing as I can. So I set them on like beautiful cake pedestals and it's very personalized wedding cake. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah.
So if you had to go back and do this all over again, would you change anything at the beginning?
Oh gosh, that is a good question.
This is like the $1 million moment where you have to sort of go, well, you know.
Right. You know, I probably would have, I mean, I just jumped right into it, right? I just like, I would say to answer that, I mean, you can't really prepare. You can prepare as much as you can, but I mean, for me, going from a financial advisor, you know, to a baker, obviously two totally opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And so I prepared as much as I could, but then, you know, I was baking at home, you know, for fun, right? But then how do you turn that baking business and baking into a business, right? Where you got to multiply your recipes times, you know, huge amounts, right? And you're like, oh gosh, how do I do that, right? And like, and when I think about like, it's like actually 3 different businesses in one, right? It's baking, shipping, and gifting. So it's like, you know, I guess I mean, I would prepare more, but I don't know how you can prepare more. You just
well, and isn't this just like any entrepreneur? You until you get into the business and you start and you get going, you don't even know what it is that you don't know yet because you're just getting started, right? It's sort of right.
It's kind of a blessing, right? Because then if you knew it, you'd be like, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to do that." You'd be scared.
Oh my gosh. It's almost every entrepreneur that I talk to says, you know, I think if I'd known all of the things, I probably never would have started. But then at some point you're so in it and it's driving your passion, right? Like you're passionate about this, right?
Right. That is one thing. I mean, like I feel so fortunate. I mean, I am living like exactly, I think, what I was meant to be doing. And I love, I've just kind of, the funny thing and what's kind of a challenge, but also a blessing is there's no roadmap to it, right? It's definitely a unique type business and product. And so there's not really a lot of like comparison for me to go to and be like, oh, how do they do this? I mean, there's some things, you know, as far as marketing and, you know, visual type products that I can kind of look at and kind of, you know, as far as what to do next, or like, how do I do this? Or should I change this box? You know, like it's definitely 100% my thoughts, right? And my vision. And, you know, that can be, it's just, yeah, I feel very like it's me, like I'm doing what I was supposed to be doing. But
absolutely. No, I love this. Now, as an entrepreneur, I know at some point you realize, oh, I may need to hire some help or I may need to outsource some things. Talk to us a little bit about that part of the journey for you.
Yeah, I mean, that too was kind of a challenge, right? Because I never knew, you know, what the volume would be as far as orders, right? So like, you know, at the beginning, my family and my parents specifically, you know, they're just wonderful. I'm very blessed and very lucky. And they would be, you know, I'd call them and be like, you know, I got this huge order, and they could, you know, hear it, parents, right? They can hear it in your voice. And like, there's so many hours in a day, right? And of course they're like, we'll be there in an hour, Sarah. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, they've been a huge part of this. which has also been a very beautiful part of my story, which, they're a very huge part of that as well. So yeah, it's the ebbs and flows, right, of like demand, right, and the seasons, right? So like that's also kind of created how do I hire someone? When do I hire someone? Do I do it full time? Do I do it per project, right? And I'm still kind of in the throes of that. Right now I have some people that work for me, and it's, different hours, and they do baking or they do packaging, because the time consuming part actually is the packaging part of it, because it's just so detailed, and each box is, hand wrapped, and maybe someday I'll get that more automated, but right now it's very personal and very, each box gets, TLC. So yeah, and I would say, as time goes on, that will, evolve, and I'll have more cupcakers that'll help me.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that, I think about adaptability, and I think about how as entrepreneurs, like that's what we're doing all the time.
Yes.
Adapting. And I'm sure, so I was curious about COVID for you. Did you find that actually increased the amount that you were doing because people were looking for things to send people?
Yes, it did actually. And, I resigned from my 15-year career the week before COVID happened.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I had thought, like there was a minute there where I was like, oh, this is either going to go, one way, or I'm going to have to, career, which I, luckily when I exited, it was a wonderful situation where, they said, come back anytime if you want. So that was, always thankfully a wonderful option. But like, I thought, okay, it's either going to go one way or the other. And it actually did push it into a level that I was not anticipating nor ready for. That first part of COVID there, March, April, and May of that first year. I had to learn so much, so fast. Talk about what you didn't know, right? I learned all of that. Obviously I'm still learning, but like, it just was stuff where I was like, oh, there was one day I'll never forget where I had reached out to my shipping partner and I said, okay, I've got it down to, I can do a shipping label. I can do 30 of them, in like 2 hours, right? And I was like, but I need to do like 500.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Sarah, there's a better way to do this. And I'm like, well, help me. And luckily, my shipping partner was fantastic. And again, in a COVID world, I couldn't see her in person. So we did a lot of this type back and forth where she just coached me on.
Right.
So just little things like that where it was kind of a long story, but in terms of things that I didn't know I needed to know until I needed to know.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that the way it is with the business though? Like when you are ready to learn it, or when there's always a time, there's always a moment, and then you walk into it, and now look at everything that you never would have known.
Right. Yeah. And to not like, I just think about, there is so much overwhelm when you think about that, right? And that can sometimes be, for me at least, paralyzing, right? So like, whether it's prioritizing or figuring out, what you have to do first, I've also learned about myself that like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You just do it, right? I always think like, if you wait until it's perfect, whether it's the perfect timing or, the perfect recipe or the perfect release of a flavor, whatever it is, something is better than nothing, right? And it can always improve. That is, I always call myself a recovering perfectionist.
I love it.
Because it can be, like I said, very like debilitating, where you just gotta like let go and just gotta do it. It's not gonna be perfect. It'll, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, I have this great mentor, Rick Tamlin. He always used to say, make the decision, empower that decision until further notice.
Yeah.
Because as entrepreneurs, it's just constant. And we make a decision, we empower it until the next, until we know what we can do next. It just is what it is, right?
Right. And nobody knows, right? If something, if it doesn't get released, no one's going to know, right? It's me, obviously, knowing like, oh, I wish I would have released that flavor a week earlier. Well, nobody really knows, right? It's, yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you get 10 million people, like I would probably be one of them, that's like, oh, you should do a seasonal one. Oh, you should, right? I'm sure people are all the time here like, keep it simple. Make sure I can do what I do, right? Because
yes.
I'm not the first person that said that, right?
No, but I love it. It's very encouraging, right? Because I'm like, well, I could always do this. I could do that. But you're right. It is like, it's keep it simple, right? And for the most part, all three of those flavors kind of answer most palates for the most part. We did just come out with and release a new flavor this last winter, which has gone wonderfully. It's like a cookies and cream.
Ooh, yummy.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I prepared it last December, January, roughly, and and I ate Oreos for about a week for breakfast, dinner, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So I was Oreoed out by the time I released it, but it has gone over really well. And yeah, it's like a dark chocolate cake, and it's officially our newest, because we only have that one frosting, right? The signature cream. And this one is our first new frosting, and it's like a vanilla buttercream infused with like teeny bits of Oreo as well.
Oh my gosh. I guarantee you there are people watching right now that are like, oh my gosh, I can taste it now. Like, get me on, get me ordered. So let's talk to people about how do they order your cupcakes. Let's talk about the process that they go through.
Yeah. So our website, PaisleyandDash.com, has that's the easiest way to get our products. So you just head to that website, and there all of our products are listed there. And typically, you know, where we shine, right, are the gifting options, like you had said, with like the gift boxes. I'll kind of just show you here too.
Yes.
There's a little box, pretty little, like, that's like a 4-pack. This is like a 2-pack. And so our website will show all the, like, you can order in like a gift of 2 or a gift of 4 or a half a dozen or a dozen. That's where, like, I would say the typical customer, if you're craving a sweet, that's where you go. If you are wanting to send treats to a family member anywhere in the country, that's where you go. However, the larger, like the corporate orders, I guess I would say, would be reaching out to me individually. And then we work through kind of a system in terms of, you know, getting your logo and you know, talking about a ship date and what kind of flavors and what kind of custom note that you want in the box, because we make it pretty personalized when we do not only the individual orders on the website too. There's a spot where you can say, you know, your notes, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I mentioned that I sent them, and I loved, you know, I just put what I wanted to know. You personalized it, and it was so great. One of the ones I sent, I got a little message, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I mean, they had never seen anything like it. And this was sent to California, right?
Yeah.
Which we make up, oh, California has everything first, but that is not true. You had it first. Like, I love that about you. So I just think that's really, really awesome. I did put in the comments too, I did add your website so people can find you very easily. And I'm assuming that you're on Instagram and Facebook as well, so people can be following you to find out about things you're doing. Is that still Paisley and Dash as well?
Yes. And at Facebook and Instagram, and I have to give that a shout out too, like for any small business owner, like that has been, I know it can be probably good and bad, but for me, luckily, it's been a wonderful platform for me to grow Paisley and Dash, but also tell the story. Part just like we're doing today, part of like what Paisley and Dash is the story behind it too. And right, speaking of, that's Dash. So it's named, I forgot to mention, it's named after my dogs.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
yes. So this is Dash, and then
Leah, let's see Paisley. Oh, they're so cute.
I know, aren't they cute, my little
They are.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that nugget.
No, I love it even more. Oh, you're going to have to come up with one for dogs.
I know, a little pup cup, right?
Little pup cups, little cup, like, yeah, pup cups, just for the little poopadoos.
Yes, right? I know.
Oh my gosh, you have to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm making you accountable right now for that. Okay, I want it. Okay, so you have to let us know. Is there any new juicy news of anything coming up in the future that we can know about?
I mean, you know, kind of like my recipe, I keep it secret. It's like tip top.
Okay, so is the word right now, but we can always expect something coming. I'm sure we've come up with a million ideas for you already anyway, right?
Yeah, whether it's like treats or packaging or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm always kind of thinking about certain things.
Oh my gosh, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I love about watching entrepreneurs is what they come up with, what they use their creativity for, like what kind of thing, right? Like, I love that, because as you are creating, as you're coming up with things, like sort of, we're a little piece of your journey over here, right? Because we're the people that are buying the product that get it out there. And I'm telling you, anybody who has ever purchased your product, like, loves it, right? Because it is so unique. It's just so unique. So I just think it's so amazing. So as we come to the close here, what advice would you give to any entrepreneur, somebody thinking about starting a business? Like, what is the best, like, if you could just say, here's my little piece of wisdom for you today, what would that be?
I guess maybe we probably touched on it already, would be to keep it simple, right? I mean, not to overthink it, because whether it's books that you've read or memes that I've read or whatever, if you overthink it, and their fear sets in and you wait, overthink it. Yeah, just keep it simple, right? Kiss. And not to not to be a perfectionist. I mean, I would say, like I said, that is something I work on, where I got to just let it go, and nothing is going to be perfect. You just got to do it and keep going. And I will say, like, I don't know how much time we have, but like, I will say, like, to listen to your heart, which I know sounds really cheesy, but I knew for years before I actually resigned that I wanted to do something creative. And though I firmly believe that the timing of Paisley and Dash unfolded exactly how it was supposed to.
Yes.
Because a lot of my former career trickles very much into Paisley and Dash, whether it's my corporate clients or, the finance part of it. I do believe, you got to listen to the signs, listen to your heart and kind of just do it. And I know it's scary, but you just got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love this. And what great advice and great wisdom. And I believe that as entrepreneurs, this is one of the best gifts we can give to other entrepreneurs, right? Because people have mentored us.
Yeah.
So now we can turn around and help mentor, give wisdom, put stuff into the space. Because really, as small business owners, don't we want all of us to be successful? Like, we're the dream, right? This is the dream right here.
Yeah.
And it's a great dream to have.
Yeah.
Well, Sara, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to share with the audience today?
Oh gosh. I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered like all the.
I think we covered all the key points. I just want to make sure. Well, like, we almost missed Paisley and Dash. Like, we almost missed meeting them, right? It's just a key thing. It's just a key thing. But I am just so grateful for you coming on today. I am really encouraging people to head on over to the Paisley and Dash website so they can check out these cupcakes for themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially moving into like the holiday season, even like into Halloween and things, what a great unique gift for somebody, right? Like, it's just such a great, and I like using them for thank yous. If somebody's been a guest for something, or somebody has done a special training, or, there's so many uses. A good friend, just to say, hey, thanks for being a friend. I mean, it's just, it's a great thing, right?
Yes, that's part of, like, you talk about your Infusion of Joy series. Like, one of my hashtags is like share joy, share love, spread love. And I would say going into the holidays, this is our jam. Like, I feel like the next 3 months are all 12 months we love, obviously, but this is like when it's just crazy, where we're like, I don't really sleep. I mean, it's just all out, like, cupcakes and shipping until like, February. And, they make a great gift, like you said, for holidays. And we also kind of, something new-ish is pairing cupcakes with certain, company things, whether it's a mug or, very custom things that we can do, just because we are, a small business, right? So there are things that we can really make gifts very custom, whether it's clients, friends, staff, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love this. I think it's just amazing. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Thanks,
Sara Lien, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Deb. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, it's been fantastic. So again, thanking Sara Lien from Paisley and Dash for coming in today. Thanking all of you for choosing to tune in today for this special Fall Infusion of Joy series. Reminding you to tune in again next week, Wednesday at 12 noon. We look forward to serving you with even more joy and reminding you to live, share, and lead with joy. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.